It certainly is a big bun.
It's a very big bun.
Big fluffy bun.
It's a very big fluffy bun.
Where's the beef?
Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
At Wendy's, we serve a hamburger we modestly call a single. And Wendy's single has more beef than the Whopper or Big Mac. At Wendy's, you get more beef and less bun.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
You want something better. You're Wendy's kind of people.
Distant scream. You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love. Feels like the first time. Feels like the very first time. Head games. It's you and me, baby. Head games. Till I can't take it anymore. I've been waiting for a girl like you to come into my life. Well, I'm hot-blooded, checking the sea. I've got a fever of 103. Come on, baby, you're more than dead. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. And be a jukebox hero. He's a jukebox hero. Someday gonna make it to the top and be a jukebox hero.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sophie. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, my little girl.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I'll have to show that to her after the show.
Yeah, she's like a mini Stephanie.
I know, my friend says that all the time. She's like little mini Stephanie.
She got that smile, cute. That's an adorable outfit. How was the birthday yesterday?
She had fun. It's kind of take one because we're gonna do a take two on Saturday for the actual party part. But she woke up in the morning wanting cupcakes, and we had to talk her down. She did start the morning with chocolate, which every 3-year-old probably that's a good way to start it. And then she got to end the day with opening her gifts. But what was funny is that she got one of the gifts, and then she didn't really care that much about the cupcake anymore.
Okay. So how's the party looking for this weekend?
She wanted to have a superhero party, so a girl after my own heart. That is something I would love to have also. So,
And you are a superhero.
yes, so we are going to be wearing Actually, so I got her a little mini Captain Marvel. You'll love this. I got a little Captain Marvel figurine to put on her cake, and I think it was my son Zachary that said, "Why is there a mommy on the cake?" And I'm like, "What do you mean it's Captain Marvel?" He's like, "That's mommy." And then my friend came over. She's like, "Oh my God, that looks more like you than it does the actual actress who plays Captain Marvel."
There we go. Well, your whole family is superheroes, so it's great. From your husband to you to your children. This is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro. We're here every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. And the weeks go fast, don't they? They come and go so fast these days.
They really do. I had a client of mine last week that said, maybe I should take a week off from seeing you because I don't get a lot of stuff done during the week. And I was like, so you could have another week to not do stuff? Like, no, we got to keep it going. He's like, yeah, you're right. Let's keep going.
That's right. Well, we're going to cover a little sports here because I'm a guy and there's some guys that watch it. They love sports. I know you're not a big sport fan, but I'm a Vikings fan. I was in Minnesota. They won the other day. They're now in 2-3, and this road to the Super Bowl will continue. I met a super fan. We're doing a documentary on fans in Minnesota because we never won a Super Bowl. But I met a 101-year-old woman, Isabel Montgomery. She got voted the top 60 Viking fans in the state of Minnesota. She's 101. And, me and you combined, we're still younger than her.
That's amazing. She's so cute.
Yeah, she was very alert, and we had a great time just kicking it and talking about Viking football. I came back to New York. We gave out 50 free tickets to the Ducks game, which is in Long Island in Suffolk County, your old stomping grounds. So we gave 50 free tickets to people on Monday night. So that was a great thing. And yesterday we were in the Bronx, CS 55. Luis Torres, the principal, Gio Urshela, the Yankee shortstop, came there and gave out bobbleheads and hand sanitizers to the children of that school. So I want to thank Gio Urshela for doing that yesterday. There's our crew. There's Carmine, our producer. He's got the biggest smile there. But he was in his glory, did a great job filming behind the scenes. And Gio Urshela, there's not too many athletes. And there were articles written in the New York Post about what happened yesterday. So it's really an exciting day. A great thing. Tomorrow night, the Giants are playing the Dodgers, Game 5. Are you going to be watching it? Whoever winner takes all, they go to the NLCS. If they win, the other team goes home. So that's going to be a great thing if you're in Los Angeles or in San Francisco. We got some upcoming events on the network. We are all on cable. So bear with me for a minute. I want to rattle off the different shows that are on cable right now. We have 16 shows. Chapters Wrap Thursday at 8 p.m. on Channel 115. Reach Out with Ray and Steve Tuesday at 10 p.m. at Channel 115. Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. You know that show, Steph. Friday at 6 p.m. on Channel 115. Move That Mountain Wednesday at 4 p.m. Channel 115. I'm Proud of You, Sis Wednesday at 5 p.m. Channel 20. Music Noir Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. Channel 115. Tea Time Saturday 11 a.m. Channel 20. You're Our Unity with LaShawn Walker Tuesday at 8 p.m. Channel 115. Youth Hero Show with Tyler Gianchetta and Rachel Barcelona every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Channel 20. Teen Talk with Ashley Blum Friday at 7 p.m. Channel 115. It's Never Too Late at 9 p.m. Channel 20. Flashback Sports with Gil and Dave every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Channel 115. Sunday Dinner with Chef Clemenza Sunday at 7 p.m. Channel 115. Laughter Saves Lives every Wednesday at 7 p.m. at Channel 115. Soul Space with Ginger Rose Monday at 8 p.m. Channel 115. And we have 8 other shows that we'll be announcing later. This is a busy network that we're doing things here.
It's exciting. And it's exciting that I came on at kind of ground zero of just, when everything started, and to be a part of this and watch it grow is just so cool.
Well, you saved me during the pandemic. I had no idea what was going on, but I just know I had to do a show every day for 100 straight days. You gave up your family for like 10, 15 minutes. You set my StreamYard up. I learned it finally, but now I have other people doing it. But Stephanie, you are a key person to what we're doing now.
It was so funny because my husband was like, really? What's going on with Steve again? Who's this guy, Steve? I was like, I got to fix it for Steve. Don't worry. It'll only take me a few minutes. But
That's right.
He was understanding because I'd stop whatever we were doing. I'm like, no, it's time. I got to go set up something for Steve.
That was great. No, I am indebted for you for life. And we're BFFs, just you and Dave and your family. So thank you so very much. But you're an author, Steph. Talk about your book.
I wrote the #1 new release in codependency called Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, all about overcoming my own struggle with toxic relationships and how everyone who is watching and would like to read that book, I'd like you to be able to have the tools to do it as well. So I actually have a book and a workbook if you're looking for specific tools. But, the idea is that you were not put here to just suffer. You are here to do wonderful things. And it's really difficult to do those things when we are merely just surviving every day. We want you to be thriving and living your best life.
That's right. That's right. We're going to move it along a little bit. Stephanie, your favorite subject in school, what was that? What was your favorite subject when you were younger?
English.
English. Why English?
I loved reading. I was a bookworm. I used to babysit for extra money on the weekends, and if I wasn't babysitting, then I was reading books. So I used to just read tons and tons of books and kind of get.
I think Stephanie froze. I think I'm still on. So we'll get Stephanie on back a little bit. But if you're watching out there, what's your favorite TV family? Is it Brady Bunch or is it the Partridge Family? You could log in and just make your thoughts known. For me, it's a no-brainer. It's definitely the Partridge Family. I was madly in love with Susan Day, who played Laurie Partridge. But most people, if you'd ask them, I think love the Brady Bunch. But anyway, but two great shows. And there's a quote there. We went over the quote, but we want to go over a couple of upcoming events while Stephanie reworks her StreamYard there. We have some big events coming on. Tomorrow, we'll be live at this golf outing, Mission Helping Hands in Manhasset on Long Island. We'll be broadcasting them live. And we want to give a shout out to Tori Farrell, who's organized this whole event. And Mission Helping Hands is a wonderful experience. It's their first golf outing. We'll be live. Carmine and I will be there and filming. It should be a great time there. And also on Friday, the very next day, we'll be out on this love train again in the community for Chef Morris in Glen Cove. He has a cafe. It's 1 year already. He's been a friend of mine for a couple of years now. Beautiful family. And they have a 1 year anniversary tasting food and special menu tomorrow. There'll be kids entertainment, live music, and more. I believe there's a clown. I'll be there. Maybe I'm the clown. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it's a great event. They give back to the community in Glen Cove. And on Saturday night, we have 4 of our Chapters Rap Youth Heroes. We have Simon Davis, who's a great, great performer. Young guy, he's like 21. C. Shar will be there. She's a great entertainer. She was one of my first youth heroes 8 years ago. I saw her for the very first time 2 weeks ago after 8 years, and wow, I'm getting old. So she'll be there to perform. We have Tyler Gianchetta, a great guy. He has his own show with Rachel Barcelona, Youth Heroes show, and they'll be on tomorrow night as well. And we have Ashley Blum, who's an incredible singer. She hosts her own show called Teen Talk, and she's an incredible person. One day, she will be the next Oprah Winfrey, or she'll be a doctor. Watch out for Ashley Blum. So as we wait for Stephanie to join us again, we're going to do a Family Feud moment here. So Stephanie could get her StreamYard back together. But we do a segment, Family Feud, because we need to laugh a little bit. So, Joe, check this out.
1 answer left. You can clear the board, Q. Some politicians belong in the White House. Others belong in the blank house.
Well, Steve, if they're good, they belong in the White House.
Good answer.
Keep them right there.
Yeah, just like that, the Quincy. Hey, Jamie.
What's up?
I might not get you, but I bet this ain't up there. Some politicians belong in the White House. Others belong in the White House. Oh, that's clever right there. Oh, they trying to trick me. Listen to me. Some politicians belong in the White House. Others belong in the White House.
In the White House.
That's so damn funny. That's a good ass answer. I'm gonna answer the question with the question. I'm gonna tell you the same thing you asked me. White, yeah. Oh, that's a good answer right there. Here we go. I'm finna point. Ready? Hold your breath. Some politicians belong in the White House. Others belong in the White House. In the White House. was dragging a minute ago. God saw me having a rough day. God decided to lift me up. He said, you need an answer. That ain't really an answer. You need an answer. That's really a question. I'm going to answer the question with a question. Some politicians belong in the White House. Others belong in the White House. Can I tell you something else?
You can tell me something else.
Is this your brother-in-law?
That's my brother-in-law.
Your brother-in-law about to be on YouTube. Hey. What?
I can't get enough of that. That is so funny. I watch Family Feud every night because sometimes when you do counseling and you're there for others, you need a little outlet, and Steve Harvey does it for me every time. But Joe Welsh does a great, amazing work for other people as we wait for Stephanie to come on. And I think Stephanie may be back or may not be back. I don't know what's going on. But let's bring on Joe Welsh because she's an amazing person. She's the Will Fairy who does Generation American born to Colombian parents, applies her experiences growing up, American cultures, and influenced by her commitment to the deaf, blind, and hard of hearing communities. Joe believes that knowing our value and our worth is crucial to living a fulfilled life. Joe is committed to helping others, entrepreneurship, and generalization wealth. Joe is excited to share the hashtag the Will Fairy to the Kick and Curb community. So welcome Joe Welsh to our show. And I think you're on mute.
What's funny is that I was gonna do a message for my deaf friends and family out there. So that's where the mute works. So hi.
There we go. Okay, there we go. So we're all back together. The family's back together. Stephanie, I know you took like a bathroom break or something. I don't know what happened there.
My computer decided it was a good time to freeze and completely need to be shut down and rebooted. That was fun.
Wow. So Stephanie,
that sounds about right.
Stephanie, Joe, Stephanie, you guys know each other, right?
Yes. I was lucky enough to meet Joe and have to ask her to be on the show. So I'm happy that it feels like it was going to be like so far in the future, and then bam, all of a sudden it's like the middle of October.
Exactly. I've been already to the West Coast. We had a holiday. Like it was lickety split. And you know what I love is being around people who are action verbs like I am, meaning that you just get it done. And here we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that term, lickety split. I haven't heard that in a long time. That is great. That means for younger viewers, very fast.
Wait, what are you saying about Joe's age? You don't ever.
Okay.
Ever.
So, okay. I mean, for everybody that never heard that term, young and younger. How's that?
Okay, I like that.
Okay, there we go. But Joe, talk about the amazing work that you do for our viewers that are just tuning in right now.
Well, first I want to say thank you for this invitation. I am so excited to be on this show. I definitely do a lot of things. I do want to start with the fact that all of it comes from a place of the message that you are delivering here about really just looking at our lives and transforming them, making choices about them. So I'm going to tell you about myself. Am I going to go ahead and start my slide deck now? Is this the right time for that?
Well, we'll wait a little while.
Not yet?
Just ad-lib it right now, but talk
Sure.
about why do you do the work that you do, specifically the work that you do, so people get an understanding, and then we'll go into your personal journey.
Certainly, and I think that they go hand in hand. So I'm a daughter of Latina parents that came from Colombia, and for me, I just was I grew up marginalized. I grew up feeling like I didn't belong, and with that core value and feeling that way as an adult, I just never want other people to feel that way. And so I've really dedicated myself. I've been an interpreter all my life because my parents were from another country, and so I was always interpreting between their culture and my culture. And then I'm actually a certified sign language interpreter as well in my career. And I have it's been over 30 years. So a lot of that just, I think, comes to really wanting communication to be clear and for people to be able to have choices and make good decisions for their life.
Wow. So a lot of the guests that we have on that show have gone through some personal experiences to get to this point in life. I mean, it seems like your upbringing really molded what you do today as well.
Absolutely. And, I think that the first generation experience is actually a very common one, but we don't hear about it as much in the world. So if you are someone who maybe have parents from another country, or it could be that maybe you are a person with a disability in the deaf community, it could be that you're a deaf person here in the United States, or maybe that your parents are deaf or family members are deaf. So there's so many ways where some people just, their identity is way more clear. And then there's some where you don't really fit in any one place. And for me, that was that first generation experience. I was born here, born in Brooklyn, raised in Miami, and now I'm in Boston. But my parents were from another country. They spoke another language. They had different cultural values. And so I was always in the middle, or in both places and also in neither. And in Spanish, there's a term that has been real recent in my life, which is ni de allá, ni de aquí, ni de allá. I'm not from here and I'm not from there. And that, I think, is an element that we don't discuss enough. And I think that especially, as you've mentioned, also the people that are in transition or finding what their next thing is going to be, they're also in that in-between space.
And I want to jump in too. My mom is from France, so I'm first generation. But I noticed that for her, she doesn't really feel, she feels American, but to other Americans, she's a foreigner. And then when she goes back to France, she's an American, she's a foreigner. Right. So I feel, I empathize with what you just said, because she is someone who doesn't feel like she really belongs in either place.
Right. And I think that we don't talk about that enough, like honor it, realize the impact, because, for me, I'm a Latina. I present Latina. I grew up with English as my first language, and then Spanish. My fluency in Spanish has come later in life. I also know sign language, American Sign Language. But for some folks where maybe they, look like majority culture, that's also a place where people may not see that there is something else in the background, like that there's some other experience. So like if you are white presenting, but you grew up in a European country, there might be, some differences, but at the same time, people are not necessarily identifying it, or maybe you don't even know how to put words to it. So it's possible that your mom, for example, didn't even know what that feeling was, except that if you asked her, did you always feel like you didn't belong? And she would say, yeah, actually. I do want to do a plug for an amazing group in the Latina world. Project Enya is a group done by this amazing artist and filmmaker, Denise Solar Cox, and she's a first generation. She coined the term Enya, E-N-Y-E, and it's all for that first generation experience. While there's a lot of Latinos, again, just that experience of being in between two worlds. She had this amazing Dream Accelerator last year that I was a part of, and it was amazing to be in a space where everybody had that same identity and that same experience of not from here, not from there, because our stories made more sense. We felt more empowered. We were able to listen to each other in a different way. And it was really just a remarkable thing to be in a space. Sometimes, what they say, don't judge a book by its cover. And I think very often we do, and we overlook this very important and very relevant detail in terms of belonging.
Wow. Now, you do a lot of work with entrepreneurship, and we have a couple of quotes.
I do.
I want to pop one quote in there and see what your thoughts are about this quote, and we can all chime in too. Let's check it out. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can. Do you agree with that, Joe?
I absolutely love that quote, and I think that. And it goes to the larger picture of my story, which is that sometimes we don't have access to that information. Maybe we don't know who we are, how to manifest, whether it's wealth, whether it's entrepreneur opportunity, how to put those ideas out there. And so, in my world right now, I am very much leaning into entrepreneurship, residual income, things like that I did not necessarily grow up with. I grew up in a wonderfully loving family, but right now I am putting in those those things, which is not just about the job. It's not about 1 hour for however many dollars and being always present when I earn my money, but instead really looking at what is available so that I can build a life where I can enjoy my family, where I can enjoy travel, where I can do the things that are important to me. And I think that and I want to bring it to the Latino space and to other cultures where, everyone values work, of course. And there's a long history of saying, like, you want to get that job. I mean, think about our generations and how as recent as maybe a grandparent did have the idea of working at that one place. What do they say? 40, 40, 40. They worked for 40 hours for 40 years. And, they got their, I think it was like $40,000, whatever it was, and the gold watch, right? And so you have this different paradigm of what it looks like to retire, what it looks like to be taken care of in old age. And now with technology, with education, with the access to knowledge, people are living longer, they're younger in their years every single day. And we need to think differently about how we prepare for that. I know that for me, and this is the unhealthy piece, is that one, I didn't give myself value. And I also had a very terrible relationship with money. I was afraid of money. I was afraid of wealth. I didn't think that I was worth it. I felt that if I made a decision to have wealth, that I would also be sacrificing my ethics or my morals, or that I was somehow looking at myself in the wrong view, and so again, like, I'm sure a lot of folks, if you are out there and you're looking for those kind of, how do you get away from those negative thoughts? One, we have to just remember that any of those thoughts are simply thoughts, right? It's just a construct. And so we really do have to have that, sit down with yourself and find out, what are your feelings about money? But there's also a lot of really great books out there. I like an author named Jen Sincero. She writes the series that You're a Badass at Making Money, You're a Badass series. So it has all these things written very directly, very matter of fact about money. I think I may have brought one more. No, I didn't bring it with me. It's in the other room. But I'm reading, oh my gosh, her name is, the name and title escapes me, but I promise to plug it in somewhere afterwards or have them put it in there. Another Latina who is just focused on, again, what is that money story that we misunderstand from when we're younger. And I got to tell you, these aren't original ideas to me. I have had the great fortune of being coached and mentored. And a lot of that is about, again, asking questions and just being open to know what is possible.
This is Kick on Healthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail and Steve Vaccaro. That's Joe Welch, the Will Fairy. Talk about how you got that name or how you came about that, and take us through that little journey. I know you have a presentation that you'd like to share with us.
I absolutely will. Well, whether we go to the slides or not, I mean, I'm very comfortable however we do this. So for me, again, I've always, here I am, the Will Fairy. I want you to take notice of this logo. The fairy itself is something that I've been thinking about for many years. It came to me because I've been trying to have this conversation, and as we know with anything, it's can we get to that next question? Can we get to the next level? So I've had this manifestation. I called myself the Will Fairy. I called myself the fill in the line fairy, right? So if I was helping you with identity theft, I'd be your identity theft fairy. Whatever it was, I was the fairy. And I was really struggling and trying to think of what does that really mean in terms of my business? Well, how do I show up? I'm a person who does many things. So I was also, and maybe there's people out there who are like me where you're like, I do so many things. And again, good coaching got me to really focus on one thing. And so I developed Ask Joe, which is the overall company. That's where all the things live. But the Will Fairy was always on my mind. I got in touch with a deaf media. So it's Deaf Lens Media. And they had a deaf graphic artist who is Asian. Her name was Jenny Kim Art. So she's at Jenny Kim Art on Instagram. And so I was able to create that partnership, tell her what I wanted. She understood, she did the fairy, I did the rest. And I was able to design this. And I want to point out for those of you out there, however you show up in this world, that's me. right? That's me down to the blue hair. My legs are thick. You know, I'm a Latina. I'm a curvy Latina. My skin is brown, and so I wanted to make sure that that was demonstrated there. You know, I wanted a sense of play and approachability, and so sometimes like our ideas are just the thing. And I had kind of put it off. I'd been barking up the wrong tree, so to speak, and I eventually got that logo, and it is absolutely perfect. I mean, just the littlest tweaks, and I just think she's so fun, and she's so cute, and she's me, and so I can't wait to swag it out. Like I plan on maybe getting pins or shirts, or I don't know what it is yet, but I'm like right at that precipice of just creating the whole fairy merch.
It's great. I think you're wearing the same dress too.
Well, I will say that as a fairy, this is the uniform. So I do have many. And what's funny is I actually do show up like this a lot in almost all of my life. As a sign language interpreter, this is actually our setup. We have a dark, contrasting background. We usually have a non-patterned shirt because people are relying on this whole space to provide that sign language interpretation. And so that's already been my wardrobe. So I just up to the game a little bit and made her, I didn't make her anything, but she's super cute. I wanted a little pinup, but also that you could take her seriously. She's got the quill, she means business.
That's right.
She's got good shoes on so she can get around and still look cute.
That's right. I need something like that. You need some
good shoes, or you need to be made into a pinup, Steve?
I'll go with the good shoes.
Maybe a little of column A, a little of column B.
That's cool. Yeah. Look, I made him red. Look.
Okay, so we're gonna move it along. Here, but go ahead, Joe.
No, please.
Okay, no. So anyway, you're doing amazing work, and it's all about the marketing to share your passion, your eagerness to help others. You mentioned the hearing impaired. I do work with the Olive Osmond Foundation with Justin Osmond, and he does a lot of great work. And, when you do sign language, he's a motivational speaker, and he's such a great guy. And that's one of the Kyle Mayford from New York. He's been one of our youth heroes. But talk about your passion to help people that are hearing impaired, and where do you see yourself going forward from this point on?
Absolutely. I will, if you don't mind, I'm going to reframe this just using different language. So I work with the deaf community. Okay. And so so just so you know, when you're writing it out, capital D deaf. And I am a sign language interpreter. It came to me because, and I didn't realize it at the time, it was through friendship, but also my family is from another country. So I have literally been an interpreter all of my life. So my desire to be understood has been very present. But also, you use a very interesting word in terms of the word help. And the reason I'm just, sharing this with everyone is that people come from a number of different backgrounds. And the partnerships that we make and that we create in our lives have to be about instilling people to be able to make their own decisions, be autonomous, and have agency. And so what I do is I work very hard to train myself to stay abreast of language and understand what the cultural implications are, how to do the work. I mentor others, especially other BIPOC interpreters. Like those things are very important to me in terms of my profession. The partnership I have actually is in a million different ways. Well, maybe not a million, but I'm definitely, if I'm going to be a part of that community as an interpreter, it also means I need to be a part of that community because there's no other way to understand and to learn. And it's not a one direction situation. I don't just learn all the things so that I can be an interpreter. I've actually been, part of leadership and organization and doing things. And it's always first and foremost is about finding those partnership with deaf, blind, and hard of hearing people to make sure that their input, whatever is going on, is present. I think, again, going to that word marginalized, meaning that there's so many communities that things are being done for, like, I have to also, even though I'm a Latina and a woman, I have to recognize my privilege and my power in any circumstance that I'm in and make sure that I'm not overstepping my bounds in terms of role. I need to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can and that I'm always coachable in terms of that as well, because it's an absolute partnership. It's a different kind of business, and for me, it's such an important one, and it's been one that I've started in the 8th grade with a friend named John Paul in Florida. He was my buddy. I was learning sign, and then it manifested through the Miami community. Here in Boston, where I'm at, I came here because I wanted to be taught. I wanted to be put in my place because I was very active. I was, I'm the kind of person who would like launch things. And I really wanted someone to be like, no, don't do that. That's not right. That's not the right time. This is not the right way. And I've learned so much. And then now the way it's manifested as well is that I have a very large team. I work with a company called Legal Shield, and we have a really large deaf team that are breaking records, that are changing their lives through entrepreneurship, through residual income, and they're also protecting people. And so I get to be a part of that story. I'm not helping anybody. I'm coaching like I am coachable, and I'm just bringing the knowledge that I see really to that.
Wow, that's wonderful. This show, we often talk about families. It's, we start off talking about Stephanie's daughter's birthday. We usually have a little segment of Family Feud, but you have a supportive family too. Maybe you could share a little bit about your journey, how you got to this point.
I will. Can we go ahead and throw on the slide? You're gonna meet my mom.
Wow,
and yes, we do look a lot.
You look like her.
I look like her. I think she is maybe 17 years old in this picture. And she was born in Colombia. She was a farmer. She was the oldest daughter, and her father passed away when she was 14. And she was responsible to help the family. When visas became available, she decided to move to the US. And so the reason I bring that up is that, again, that first generation, or maybe our parents come from something that's different than we are. And you could see that she came here. For me, she's a pioneer. And I've just always, I kind of embodied that adventurous spirit, the desire to want to know different things. And tell you what the little line under there said was, her superpower is that she is Latina clean. And I call that her superpower because that was the thing that allowed her to get above whatever was going on. She and my dad were we're poor, we're figuring out their world. My dad, who was a teacher in Colombia, came to here and had to start his world as a dishwasher and a cab driver. And he's now a man with 2 master's degrees. He's a psychotherapist. He has a wonderful business and a wonderful career. He has his own method. He has all these amazing things, but it actually speaks to generational wealth. The idea, the thing that I'm fighting the most for. And I'm going to take a minute just to explain that a little bit through this example. In that my parents came from another country. When they came here separately, like they met later, they broke the generational lineage, especially if you think about in the 60s. Air travel wasn't as common. It was very expensive. You're talking about language barriers. They didn't come here with an already existing foundation. They actually brought their seed here and planted it in the United States. They got together and started a family. And so you see that loss, that going backwards in adulthood, and you go, okay, you graduate from school, you go to get your job, you do this by a certain age, you're at a certain point in your life. But really what you see is them coming over here and then having to start anew, right? As from basics, like from language point, education, getting established here. And so when we look at that, like for me, that's the previous generation to me. I'm the next generation. So when I look back, even though I have a very large family in Colombia, that isn't my nuclear family. It's not the one that I'm involved with. Unfortunately, I don't get a lot of advice, or, I didn't know the language really. So there was a lot of things that stood in the way. And it could be that people feel that way in their lives today, that they feel like there is this disconnect, you're starting over. And then again, all of that influences how we see ourselves. And so if you're struggling, like for me, I struggled. My parents were immigrants. I took on their posture. I took on how they showed up because they were immigrants, but I was born here. And so it was a struggle. I had to figure things out, but I didn't feel like, you have to forgive me that I'm looking at something. All of a sudden, I'm getting a weird little button on my computer, so I'm hoping that's not going to change things. But I had to figure out where I stood, and I followed them because they were my parents. And it took me a long time to realize where I stood, to see who I was in my identity. But a lot of already damage had been done, a lot of, not believing in myself, allowing, not being strong enough, not being able to, I was a late bloomer. There was so many things that I feel like set me behind that I don't think I'm the only one, but I am so excited to get to meet other people who are experiencing that as well.
No doubt. You mentioned other people. How important is diversity to you?
Well, I live in a very diverse world inherently because of who I am. So I have, multiple cultures around me. I work with the Black, Indigenous, people of color, also Asian American, Pacific Islander. Like all of that is so intertwined with my work. As a mentor, as a coach, and also coming from a place of understanding what it's like to be different, and what that lens is. The cultural, it's not to say that all cultures are the same, but we do have some elements that we have to look at in terms of, and again, it goes back to how do we see money? How do we see autonomy and agency? Gender plays a big role, or at least it did historically, but remember that even every different country and even different parts of the country might have different takes on how we'll use women or women presenting, how they are allowed to have status, how they're allowed to have or not have education. For me, a foundation also comes to the history of women. When we think of in the United States, I was born in 1970, so I am 51. And when I was a teenager, when I was 14, women would quit their jobs when they got pregnant, weren't allowed to wear pants. It wasn't until the late 90s where insurance stopped costing women more money just for being a woman. And like, that's just a little bit of the kind of things that we're talking about in my history. My formative years, how that defines who I am, what I see, what I believe about myself. And then I add, which is a very, machismo, stronger culture, male-dominated culture coming from Colombia. There's a lot of mixed messages. There's a lot of it's not necessarily advancement. I'm very fortunate that my parents had my back and really believed in me and wanted me to be forward, but definitely a lot of culture clashes in that communication and struggle, because there was, old school, new school, and where do we fall in? And for me, I fell in both.
Would you say, Steve, that like as a guy's perspective and, with your background, did you see that at all? Like some of that, like guy trying to be macho and feeling that kind of pull also growing up?
Yeah, I think back then, I mean, the outlook on women, I grew up in foster homes, and I grew up not being with my mom, actually. And I saw if my mom was alive today, she probably would have got different support and different focus in life to overcome some of the challenges that she had. She had MS and she had a mental illness. So back then, yes, I think growing up, that's what it was like, back in the 70s. And I think what Joe's talking about, the focus on women really unfolded, in the 90s, really. I mean, a lot of things really changed. And I think back then, women, I mean, if you had a mental illness and you were a woman or didn't work, it kind of wasn't discussed a lot. And I think women took the back seat back then. So I think the work that you do, Steph, and that what you're doing, Joe, is so incredible, because women are highly successful right now. And especially during this pandemic, Joe, I would imagine you're seeing the success of great people out there.
Absolutely. And I mean, when we're looking at equity, inclusion, diversity, all of those things are fundamentally, we want to see people thrive. And we can't ignore that there are obstacles out there, that there are things that are holding them back. And the larger racism and oppression conversation, but also what we're doing to ourselves inside, which again goes back to why I created the Will Fairy, because if you don't see that you have value, then something like a will isn't certainly the thing that you're going to gravitate towards. And again, if you don't have a concept of what is wealth or what is financial security or time freedom, all those kind of things are lofty. And we're convinced, like for me, I was convinced that just wasn't available to me for a very, very long time. And I took my mom's Latina clean attitude, and that's how I've always shown up. I work hard. if I'm involved in something, I know how to do almost all the aspects of it. I could put things together. Just a kind of side note on that, we have a nonprofit for our teenager. It's called Mystic River Theater Company, and it's for LGBTQ teens, and it's virtual and in person. And for the pandemic, it was very perfect timing because we had to do everything virtually. But again, we are the production crew and the sound crew. My husband is a blues musician and artist and does production. And I do lights and photography, and I do the artist coaching. My teenager is a senior now and just phenomenal, like just really came into their own in terms of being a director, a musical director, and just bringing their group together, and then just talent as well. And then I'm just going to add, like, I'm pulling all the pieces together. For that example, I also was very passionate to make sure that we had ASL deaf talent. So we actually have artists who are deaf themselves doing renditions, doing the interpretation of the songs. It's not an interpretation. It's actually, we have Josh and Amelia from Spring Awakening on Broadway. We have Malik and Josh and Chrissy were all in Deaf Broadway's version of Into the Woods that just happened at the Lincoln Center. So there's all these connections. And again, this is kind of that side note, right? We were talking about a lot of different things here, but when we are committed to diversity, when we're committed to inclusion, it means that we have to step out of the way of convenience, something that's right in front of you, and really think about who we're bringing on board and how we're representing it. And it was an absolute, just such a beautiful show, such talented kids and talented artists. I mean, it's really amazing. Open caption, so we had talked about like making sure things were captioned. So what it does is it makes sure that people can get a seat at the table, right? That we're putting down those barriers where we can. And it's very doable, but it does require time and planning as anything does.
All right, so Joe, what's the most rewarding aspect of what you do and most challenging? Because being so diverse, I mean, you're involved with so many things and connecting with so many people. So what would you say is rewarding and challenging for you?
Well, the most rewarding thing is I really like people. I think that if you know me, it's a truer statement couldn't be said. I really like people, and I have an immense amount of patience for people who actually want to learn and change. You'd be surprised at how patient I am, and because the goal is getting to the finish line together, right? Is if we can accomplish it together, it's the best reward. I especially love it because I do have such a diverse world around me. I get to see people's stories thrive, and it's just such an honor to be welcomed and to be loved and to fight and to do all the things to get to that place and be like, wow, I knew you had it in you, right? I have always been able to see this in you. The challenge is, and this was initially, I'm still working on it, is that I do a lot of things. And so the challenge is really trying to stay focused. That's why the will fairy is so important, because if we can start a conversation about wills and life, that could lead to protecting your business and some of the other things that I do. And so sometimes I want to do it all. And so really just trying to focus so that I can make a difference in someone's life, and also that they can make the difference in their own life. It's not about, like, it doesn't bring me joy to get it done for somebody. It brings me joy when they're able to do it, whatever their learning style is, whatever their language might be, however that might be. The goal is to get it done in a way that's mindful of the other person. And so, I will say it's just Reward City. I have learned so much. I've been trained by amazing mentors. Like it's been an amazing journey. I want to tip my hat off to also the deaf and deafblind communities. Again, very often we see like interpreters or people who use sign language or who have access to that. We are not here without the support of the deaf, deafblind, hard of hearing communities. They are sharing something with us that is theirs. And it's always a collaboration. It's always that we're all doing it for the same purpose, which is to get across that finish line together.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of people out there that want to know more about you. I know you put together a little slideshow, so maybe we should run that so people really fully understand. Is that
so
you?
I will ask. That is me. I'm just going to ask, people feel free. I don't know if I'm able to see chats, but if people want to, you're welcome to say, like, did you have that couch? Because that's a very 70s couch. And, for those of you who are younger, we lived in an era where there were like only X number of things. Like movies came out, only like 10 a year, whatever that number is. It's not like you had a lot of choices. So I'll bet you a bunch of people had that couch. So, it speaks to who I am. I'm a first generation American. I was a sister and a mother. I'm a sister and a daughter. And we all show up in all of those different roles, and they all inform us, right, about who we are and how we show up and what we want for our future. It's also interesting that when we look at our childhood, there are some rules. I learned this. It's like there are some rules out there that we set for ourselves, that we believe through our entire lives. And what's funny is that if you were running a business, you should be revisiting your employee handbook, the rules and terms and, the things that are going on in your business every couple years. But it's funny how, especially if it's connected with pain, hurt, something where it didn't go right, like we set these rules at a very young age and we live by them, even when they no longer serve us. You get to see a picture of my family. So this is my amazing teenager. That is my husband. I will say that the award that he has in his hand is a joint venture. He and my husband's name is Monster Mike Welch. He worked with a gentleman named Michael Ledbetter. They were the Welch-Ledbetter connection. It was an unbelievably amazing experience and project. I took the photography for the like I said, I do everything, right? So I did the photography for the album. We housed everybody. We went to the studio. They did the music. It just was this amazing thing. Unfortunately, and you as you said, a lot of people go through some traumatic lives that get to them to where they are. For me and for our family, unfortunately, we lost Mike Ledbetter at the beginning of 2019. It was very unexpected. He was a very young man. That's my husband, so he's still with us. But we did lose Mike Ledbetter, and it was catastrophic. And we were decimated. We were devastated, and we're still recovering from it because once that happened, the pandemic hit the next year. So just as we were getting on our feet, we were then once again. Everything changed again. And so for us, I also had some health stuff that had hit. And so again, when we look at our lives and the things that happened for us, we had 3 years of just being knocked off our feet. I had talking about unhealthy relationships. I had an unfortunate unhealthy relationship with a business partner that really, actually a couple business partners, and it really like hurt my mental health. I had to come, recover through that. And there are things in my life, actually, this company, Legal Shield, is one of the things that saw me for who I was at the moment. And when I was at my lowest, I was able to go somewhere and belong and feel like I was a part of something. And, it's really interesting to say that when things save your life, but they absolutely did. Then we lost our guy, we lost our brother. And, in the blues community, we were booked on is a blues cruise. So there's this big cruise that happens twice a year. It's amazing, legendary blues cruise. And so he passed away just before they were supposed to play on that cruise. And so we came back from a very long, arduous, it was the cold winter. And then we showed up on that blues cruise because, oh my God, like this was all blues artists. And so what a blessing that was, because we got to grieve and get love like for an entire week. I don't know what our lives would have looked like without that catharsis and love. I mean, we were devastated. And he had a family, a fiance and children. There was just so much at play. And, you don't ever think that you're good. And this is actually a great segue to Will's and stuff. You never think that something like that's going to happen to you, a 33-year-old person. You don't think that that's going to happen to your business as you're getting it started. And then for us, then COVID hit. And so once again, we see the communities that are struggling, usually marginalized communities, Black and brown people are not getting what they need. There was a lot of, and still is a lot of, catastrophic loss happening in the world. I don't remember what the question was, but these are the things that, like, the last 3 years for me that brought me here in a very different place, in a very different way. I'm nonstop and want to make sure that people get those affairs in order, because again, it comes back to that value that we have to see ourselves, take inventory and see the worth that we have and how we impact other people's lives and make sure that we're protecting it. Perfect segue. It is. And so, you guys will see, you'll see on almost every slide, it has the willfairy.com. You are more than welcome to go in there and sign in, and do not change from this slide quite yet. If you go there's a place for you to sign on to be into my mailing list. I'm definitely on Facebook at the Will Fairy. And the reason that previous slide was important is I want to hear from you if you want a copy of a PDF of a will questionnaire. And so again, it's using all the tools that we have available to us. Legal Shield provides this amazing will questionnaire. There's a lot of companies that do. And what I use that for is to create a much more relaxed understanding of what the will does at its core. I do want to say before we talk about wills that I am not an attorney. I am not handling anybody's wills. I don't want to know anybody's private business. I don't need to know if you were previously married or if you have children. That's not my place in it. What I am is I'm helping people get over that finish line, get that final stamp, the notary seal on there, and so that they have a current and updated will, whether they're doing it through me and Legal Shield, whether they're doing it through their own attorney, through a family friend. I am an independent associate with Legal Shield, and so that's one of the choices that's available to people. And again, I'm more than happy to share that PDF. People can just reach out, spend a little time with me. Let's just do a little overview, see where you're at. And again, for me, it's all about having choices.
It is all about having choices, and we're just about out of time.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was lickety split.
I know, lickety split. There we go. But we're gonna have to get you back on the show, because what you offer is a unique perspective on how to navigate through life, and what you share today is so vitally important.
Well, stay right here. If you want to, go ahead and screenshot this, because what I'm doing until the end of the year is every Friday, 8 a.m. And I don't want to be alone in my Zoom room, okay? So if you have those questions, like you don't own property, do I still need one? Do I need a will? Is it expensive? How do I protect my family and friends? Take a screenshot of this. You can see the little bit.ly in there. It's going to bring you right into my Zoom. It's free. You are more than welcome. Please at my Facebook, at the Will Fairy. I'm also on Instagram. If your camera picks that up, that is my Calendly, that you can book time with me. There is no obligation. I already told you I really like people a lot. I really do. So if you just want to meet and talk, it would be my pleasure to meet this amazing audience. And I can't believe it's already 57. The time flew.
I know, it's fly. We're going to get you back on the show, because you do such incredible work, and I think our viewers could really benefit from the work that you do. So, Joe, thank you so very much. The Will Fairy, thank you for coming on our show today.
Thank you so much. I've had an absolute blast, and I look forward to coming wherever you want me. If people want me as a speaker, I'm going to be adding that to my website. I'm working on my marketing, so just support me, help me out, and I look forward to meeting you all.
Thank you so very much. Joe Welsh, the Will Fairy. Thank you. God bless. Another great guest there, Steph.
A lot of really great information. And I think it's really important for us to keep our minds open when we're thinking about just others, people that aren't us. And I think sometimes it's easy to get sucked in with what our perspective is on things. And I love Joe's ability to really be able to think of everybody else, including being so inclusive of others. I think that's a huge credit to her and what she does to help other people.
That's right. A couple of weeks ago, you brought up Gabby Petito, and we only have 30 seconds, but we had some information that came out today that she was strangled, and she was, before they found, a couple of weeks like that. What are your thoughts about where things are now with that situation?
When I read that today, I immediately teared up, because anybody that knows my story knows that I was strangled not once, but twice. Once until I started to lose consciousness, and luckily enough, he did get off of me before I did. But I think that, reading that and understanding, no way to go is a good way, obviously, but it was just such a reminder that there are so many people that are thinking that it's not going to happen to them, that it's not possible, they're not capable of it. Who knows? Maybe he hadn't been physical before the time he slapped her. Maybe he hadn't, those things hadn't happened. But I would bet there was some verbal abuse beforehand. And a lot of us think that our trauma is not as bad as somebody else's. but we don't even realize how it's escalating and where it can go. None of us really know what direction it can go in. So
No.
my blessings to her family, and just my thoughts are with everyone who's still struggling in toxic relationships, and just implore you to please get help. We don't want you to be another statistic.
Steph, thank you. We're just about out of time. God bless. I'll see you next week.
Bye,
Thanks for
everybody.
tuning in, guys.